Please welcome our next speaker, Rob Fitzpatrick, a senior AX solution architect. Today he'll be presenting his session. Is project operations right for your business? Please stick around after Rob's session for a live Q&A.
Hello everyone, welcome to DynamicsCon. Thank you for watching my session here. The session today is going to be, is project operations right for your business? So it's going to be a quick overview of what project operations actually entails in the new world here. And I'll go into a little bit of a demo to show some of the functionality from creating project contracts, a project, and some light scheduling, just to give you a feel for what some of the functionality is in the new project operations app in CE. All right, so my name is Rob Fitzpatrick. I'm a senior solution architect from Western Computer. I've been working with the project solutions in AX since AX 4.0 PSA, so I've been around for quite some time in the projects vertical, going all the way back to AX 4.0, now through project operations. So picking up and learning project operations has been tremendous. All right, so the main question we want to answer today is, what is Dynamics 365 project operations? There's been a lot of confusion, I can say, about what project operations really is. Is it going to be replacing project management and accounting in FNSCM? What does it entail? So this, I thought, was a great topic to just dive right into and say, okay, here is what project operations is within Microsoft D365. So it's essentially an umbrella term. It's going to encapsulate both the D365 project operations app in CE, as well as the project management and accounting module in D365 FNSCM. What will determine the deployment type is going to determine how much of each area you're going to use. So project operations really means everything that has to do with project functionality, and the deployment type you choose will determine which areas you're going to use, whether it's CE, PMA, a mix of both. So that's what we'll dig into here, is go through the different deployment types for project operations. So there's three deployment types. The light deployment, they call it deal to pro forma invoicing. So that is made up entirely of the project operations app in CE. There's no integration to FNSCM. It's a standalone CE app that you can use in conjunction with CE sales in the CE platform. The second deployment type is the resource non-stocked scenario. And what that scenario is essentially most of the business processes are going to be handled in project operations app in CE. Then there's going to be an integration into the project management and accounting module, so that you can get your invoicing and revenue recognition and post to your ledgers through FNSCM. So that's the resource non-stock scenario. So there is no CE component to it. It is purely PMA in FNSCM. So I'll dig into each of the deployment types a little bit more to get into really when they should be used, and some of the features with regards to each deployment type. For the light deployment, this is going to use the capabilities from the CE apps in D365. You use this deployment type really as a standalone CE experience, or if your intention is to integrate with a third-party ERP, that's obviously not Dynamics 365. So it's meant to be a standalone. It has the capabilities as you're doing transactional processing in there, as you're recording time and expense. You'll have an actuals table that would really form the basis of your integration to a third-party ERP. But the thing to note here is it's all CE based. The features that it comes with, you've got project planning using Microsoft Project for the web. You've got some multi-dimensional pricing options with regards to setting up your system and pricing. You're using the unified resource management capabilities in CE, as well as some time tracking, some basic expense, and the invoice proposal functionality. So it stops essentially at, you can do some transactional processing, obviously using your unified resource management capabilities as well, but it'll stop at the invoice proposal stage there, where then you look to pick it up if you're integrating it to an ERP. So the resource non-stock scenario, this is the scenario that uses the capabilities from the CE app in Dynamics 365 and the capabilities from FNSEM for a complete end-to-end solution. So you're using most of the business processes are going to be starting and being contained in the CE app, and then you're going to be integrating to the PMA module in FNSEM for your invoicing and your RevRec, and essentially to feed your subledgers and your general ledger with the actual financial data. So from a features perspective, you're going to get all the same features that you had in the CE app because that is where most of these processes are taking place. So you're still going to have Microsoft Project for the web, the pricing, unified resource management, as well as time tracking and basic expense. But what you have the opportunity now to use is the full expense capabilities of FNSEM. So the expense management module in FNSEM is fully integrated to this project operations, this resource non-stock scenario. So instead of using basic expense, you can get the full expense reports capabilities through the application. With the full expense report capabilities, you get the receipt OCR as well. And as we mentioned earlier, this is where the full invoicing and revenue recognition will occur in the resource non-stock scenario. So your invoice proposals will essentially get integrated to PMA. That's where they'll be posted and hit your AR subledger. Your revenue recognition will happen as your actuals journal gets posted into PMA. Your financials will hit the project subledger and your general ledger. Okay. The last scenario is the stock production order scenario. So this uses the project management and accounting capabilities from FNSEM for a complete end-to-end solution. So just PMA, there is no CE app component to this. And the features, it gives you some of the same features just in a different way. So if you're familiar with the project management and accounting module, you'll know that your project planning is done using the work breakdown structure that's associated to projects in PMA. It has native resource management capabilities. It has the time tracking, full expense receipt OCR, as well as the full invoicing and RevRec. The additions here from the stock production order scenario is that anything that has to do with production orders, material support, inventory, that's all going to need to happen in PMA. So there's no integration here, or there's no functionality on the CE app side for any of these items. So if you're in a scenario where you need to use inventory, production orders, things like that, you're going to need to deploy using this scenario. So just to sum up everything we went through there, which journey is going to be right for you? We have the 3 different deployment methods, and now it's just a matter of, okay, based on your project organization, what are the capabilities that you're looking for? What are the integration points, the financial ramifications, the invoicing ramifications? Do you use inventory? Do you not? You go through that checklist, and essentially you'll come up with the scenario that says, yeah, hey, we're let's say a purely professional services type firm. We don't do any inventory, anything like that. So that resource non-stock scenario might be the way to go. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the demo. A couple of things that I wanted to show first with regards to the resource non-stocked path. So there's some deployment guides. I have some links at the end of this PowerPoint presentation, which will provide some information on the documentation. And when you're installing, you're picking your deployment type, you'll go through a number of steps that will essentially set up your FNSEM environment in an integrated fashion. One of the things that I wanted to show was when you have an integrated environment and you're used to seeing the project management and accounting module, you'll see how much this has changed when you run this in an integrated environment. So a lot of menu items are now hidden when you run in that resource non-stock path. Time entry, for instance, there's no timesheets out here. Time entry is done in the app in CE. You'll essentially see that everything that will support your project setup, your project contract, your invoicing, and your rev rec, that is what is left uh, to you in the PMA module. You'll also see that project operations integration journal show up. So when you deploy this resource non-stocked instance, that's how your transactions are going to integrate from project operations into PMA. It's going to be through this integration journal. Those journals get posted. They'll feed the transactions to your invoice proposals. You'll be able to then do your invoices through here. And as those transactions get posted, they pick up the posting types that you're used to from PMA to recognize your project costs, to accrue revenue, to make those same project entries that you're used to seeing from a financial perspective. So just know that non-stocked resource deployment method fundamentally changes how you're going to use that PMA module. You don't get the same experience any longer. Okay, so just wanted to make everyone aware of that, and I am going to bring up a project operations environment here. All right, so I am out in CE, and our journey, I'm going to start it today really from our project contract area. So really what I'm trying to do here is just give you a quick overview of setting up a contract. What does that mean? Setting up projects associated to the contract, taking a quick look at the project setup, also looking at the resourcing capabilities that come along with the product. So I'm going to create myself a new project contract. I'll choose a price list. Everything looks good here. I'll save it. So this project contract, the concept, if you're familiar with PMA, the concept of a project contract is similar to the project contract in PMA. It's the billing mechanism. Who's going to be paying for the projects? But what we have here we have essentially a project contract header. We have project contract lines. The project contract lines allow us to add project-based lines where we'll be able to say, I've got this type of project service that I have sold, and you associate a billing method with it, time and material or fixed price. So these are the classic, project types, external facing project types that you would normally deal with. And you can see here that I can attach this project contract line to a project, or I can create a new project to associate to. I'll come back to that. I'm just going to create a couple lines first. So I'll create another contract line. Okay, so here we have our project contract. We've got two project contract lines. And at this point in time, I can associate to these lines to existing projects, or I can simply create a new project to associate to these lines. And that's what I'll do here. We'll save that. So I'm updating the project reference, no problem. All right, so now I have got my project contract header, which is essentially, hey, who's going to be paying for this? My contract lines, what have we sold? What are they going to be paying for? And now my project. So you'll see that there's this sales component of the project operations app here. This is where the project contracts are going to live. We'll switch over to the projects component here, and we'll take a look at our project. So here's the project that I just created. Take a quick tour of this. So again, we've got some project master data with some estimated dates, estimated costs that you can fill out here as well. actuals as they happen. The schedule. So this is, one of the really nice features of this system is that off the project, I can begin to build out my project schedule. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, and I will throw a couple tasks out here. So this should look pretty familiar for anyone who uses MS Project, adding tasks, indenting, outdenting, moving them around, setting up some precedents as well. I'll do that here as well, just so you can see my project schedule adjust based on the precedents here, and I'll make some adjustments to my effort so you can see the schedule also move based on effort that I'm entering, as well as the precedents. Keep it fairly simple here. But so it's a very simple task structure. I got 3 things that need to happen sequentially. You have the ability here to add resources to the tasks that you create. So I am already a resource because I am the project manager when I created the project. So I'm going to say task 1, I'm going to assign to me. That's great. So we're good there. Task 2, I don't know who I'm going to use yet. So I'm going to create an assignment. I don't know who I want to use yet either. All I know is I want to use a specific role. I'm going to use, let's say, an operations analyst for this particular task. Same with this task. I don't know who I want to use just yet. So I'm going to assign it to a role. I'll go to a network technician. Okay. So when you're filling out your schedule, if you know who you want to assign these to, you can pick your resources directly. Or if you have a resourcing function in the organization and you don't make those decisions, we're going to, basically your resource management team might say, okay, we're going to take a look at all of the requests or all of the assignments by role out there to say, hey, you've requested you need a network technician from this date to this date. Let's go see who's available and we'll make the assignments for you. So you'll see as you walk through this, it'll build out your team and it's going to say, okay, I've got Rob, he's the project manager. I had assigned him those 40 hours. And I've got these other generic resources for those roles for the hours. So what you do here is you can generate your requirements. So I want to be able to staff this project and I want to be able to staff those roles. So generating your requirements essentially creates this record out here for us behind the scenes, this resource requirement record. What that's going to allow us to do is go out to our schedule board, look up our resource requirements or see our resource requirements and look for people, look for available people. So that happens through the schedule board. So this is more of the classic like resource management team or resource management office type of function where I'm going to see all of my open requirements on the screen. So I've got a requirement out here for a network technician. I've got my requirement for an operations analyst. And I'll be able to see all the people who are out here available to book. The screen's pretty busy, lots of different moving parts. You'll see these little arrows. They'll be able to show and hide different things. So you can see this booking pane will come up. You'll see some more details with regards to the resource you might select. So you'll just need to take some time to really get comfortable with this. You also see the filter here where you're able to start defining characteristics for the roles. If I want to search for a specific role, I can select it here. But the idea behind the schedule board is I have open requirements. Let me select my requirement for a network technician and find availability. So I'm going to let the system do it. So you'll see what they've done is the system will populate this information on the left-hand side. It will filter for the dates I'm looking for. It's going to filter for the role that I'm looking for. And I've got one person here who's able to do it. So I am going to open up my booking here for Romeo, and I'm going to book his time. I've only got one matching resource. He's got the availability. I'll take the hours. So 40 out of 40 hours has been successfully booked. So excellent. I'm going to head back out to my schedule board. I'll do the same thing for my operations analyst. There's my operations analyst. Let's see who's available. So I've got more than one person here, so I can now choose between who I want. I'm going to select Kenya, and I will book. All right, so all those hours have now been booked. Excellent. So I'll head back out to my project. I'll be able to see my team here. So you can see that now I've got everyone booked. That schedule is now filled out with the resources that I've selected to complete those tasks. And you have some more information as you walk across the project with regards to resource assignments. How would you like to group and see some of this? So you get a little bit of a chart as to, grouping this by role or by resource or by category, the tasks, who's doing what, quantity, when is that work going to happen? So you've got some visibility there. As time comes up, so I've overbooked myself here through demos, but you can see based on your resources, you can see who's got a booking shortage, who's got excess bookings, based on the folks that are on your project. I didn't put in, so these were the estimates with regards to the roles that I had selected. We've got some base cost prices built in the system, so we can take a look at what does our estimates look like from both a cost and a sales perspective. Same with tracking. So you have some good forms here where you can say, let me take a look at my effort tracking for my tasks. Here's what I've put into the system as my effort. Here's what's remaining. As we post, the actuals will come in. So you can see both from an effort and a cost perspective how this project is trending towards your tasks. Okay, so quick view there of setting up your project contract, taking a look at your project contract lines, seeing how they come through, create a project associated to your contract lines, create your schedule, find your resources, and work a little bit with the schedule board. So I also wanted to just show you, based on what the system is doing here from the schedule board perspective and the resourcing perspective, how is it finding the folks that you need to find? So from a setup perspective, you're going to have resources in the system. When you take a look at your resources, you'll have a project service area here. Now, this is where you have the ability to assign roles and assign skills as well. So we did all of our scheduling in that little short demo based on role. You have the ability to use skills to further refine the folks that you're looking for. So not only is this person an operations analyst, but she's got some budgeting skills, operations, research, project management skills. You also have a proficiency model in the system that you can assign to the skills that you have. So role is essentially, probably the highest level that you're going to be looking to do your scheduling by, but you have other areas that you can dig deeper in finding your resources. So you have your resources set up there from a from a resource setup perspective. The roles that you have in the system, they're all going to be completely defined by you. So based on the implementation and the roles that you have in your organization, you create your roles. Same with skills. So you'll see, the list of skills, these characteristics that you create, you'll be able to create those. Notice that there is a characteristic type. So we do have the ability to say, hey, I've got the ability to kind of separate my skills from my certification. So I have a characteristic type called certification. So if you need to track specific certifications for your resources in the system, they have their own data element there that you can use from a skill tracking perspective. And again, proficiency model, kind of the same thing. You can apply your ratings values. These rating values are configurable. So I can have a skill, and am I good? Am I proficient? Am I familiar? You can, am I junior? Am I intermediate? Or am I a senior? All the different rating values that you can come up with, they are configurable for you in the system. Okay. All right, excellent. So this has been a pretty quick, high-level run-through of the Project Operations app in CE. Let's take it back to the presentation here, and let's get ready for the live Q&A. Hey everybody, thanks for joining the live Q&A. Hopefully I hear get some good questions. You guys have anything that any specific questions that you have about the session? Just type them into the chat now and we'll get going. I did see one from Leslie. Thanks for jumping in there. The question in regards to scheduling without time tracking, is that possible? Absolutely possible in the system. The time entry aspect of it is not required for you to use the resource scheduling functionality. So you would just really need to enter in your resources and use the roles, skills, scheduling functionality just to track your resources against your projects. No need to track actuals. Just there if you'd like to. Justin's typing in here, how similar is the new project operations versus the old version? The old version being PSA, or known as Dynamics 365 for PSA. It's project operations is based on the PSA version. So the project operations app, I should say, in CE is based on the PSA app that was in CE. But now project operations encompasses more of more scenarios, not just CE. So as you saw in the demo, or you saw in the presentation, there is the component of being able to integrate into finance and operations. So project operations now has kind of a more a broader type definition than just having the app in CE. Can we skip the task creation and just create resource requirements? You should be the standard process in the system is to generate your resource requirements from the tasks and the assignments that you put in there. I haven't specifically tried to do a resource requirement without creating tasks, so I have not tried out that process. I'm not entirely sure. So actually, with regards to government contracting in the resource non-stock version, that effective labor rate functionality is specific to PMA and is not incorporated in the project operations world just yet. So if you're in the stocked path where you're going to be living in PMA, you'll still have the effective labor rate functionality available to you. Unfortunately, not in project operations in the non-stocked version as of yet. All right, well, let's see. So, Will, with regards to project operations leveraging Project for the Web Gantt chart and also the new features from Project for the Web roadmap coming out, I would anticipate that yes, these tools as they're rolling out, if you saw the so there's some more sessions with regards to the project management roadmap that Microsoft is doing. All these new features coming out, they're intended to work, to begin to work together. So having the task list with Project for the Web integrated in project operations, I would think some of these roadmap features are going to be available as time goes on in project ops. Actually, purchase requisitions for a project via project ops, getting closer, not yet. So if you're looking at the roadmap and the release notes that are coming out, the April release, which is basically coming out now, has some features around non-stocked items that you can use in or with project operations. So going down a non-stocked purchasing path and invoicing, getting those AP invoices to be reflected in your project and project operations, and being able to invoice for those. So that's with regards to specifically purchase requisitions. I don't know if that's turned on specifically, but I know that the April release is the first one where in the non-stocked scenario we'll be able to deal with non-stocked items. So I would anticipate that's coming now that the items have been lit up there. So document management for a project, the creation is submitted to customer, approved by the customer, and due dates for those. So document management, I guess, I come from the old PMA world where document management, you've got that paper clip that you're able to attach as many documents as you need to your projects or project contracts or whatever it might be. I haven't specifically looked in project operations yet to see where those would be, but what you have available to you when you're doing the non-stocked resource path, you still have PMA available to you. You'll see your projects. You go to all projects, you'll see them there. You should be able. I think that paperclip is still there. Like if you needed to still manage something, the old document management method in PMA might work. It's just procedurally or operationally, who's going to have access to PMA versus who's going to have access to project ops, and where those documents should live, who's going to be accessing them. Those questions would need to be answered if, at PMA in that non-stock scenario is really, it is just the place for invoicing and RevRec. So most of the operation is going to be in the project ops app dealing with it. So there might be some additional CE features that will allow us to do the same type of thing. Thanks everybody for the questions. Any other questions that you have coming through? We have a couple more minutes. Just to give you a little bit of a background on myself, I started my project journey really back in AX40 with the PSA module in AX40. So I've been doing the professional services work within AX, now D365, and the PMA module, and now project operations, for the past 16 years, going back that far, maybe even longer. So yeah, all things projects and PSA, I've got the experience going back to AX40. So it's been great watching the evolution of the product, of the project's functionality. Now taking the next step out into CE, it's definitely, for me, pretty cool to start picking up on. Excellent. So looks like that might be it. I'd like to thank everybody for your questions. Again, hope you have an enjoyable conference. Oh, we got one more coming in from. So from what time tracking is against time tracking is against the task. I haven't tried not to put tasks on a project. I can't imagine I have to put a task on a project. I haven't tried that specifically. I've always just had a task there. I don't think it's a required field based on what I was seeing. So I think you can just do time against a project if you don't need if you don't have tasks.
or at minimum, set up one task per project is another way if it truly doesn't let you. But I haven't seen that as a limitation. It is, it's the task is front and center within the application because of the ability of that work breakdown structure, project for the web integration. That's where resource requirements will get driven off of. So we've, so you have that ability at least to go directly to project. Have I extended time and expense entry against cases? I have not used cases. Justin, sorry about that. I have not used cases yet and extended time and expense to them. Okay, give it a second here if there's nothing else coming through. All right. All right, excellent. Thanks everybody for joining the session. Thanks everybody for your questions. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the conference.